All right, I think we're live. So welcome everyone to another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a great weekend here so far. Thanks so much for joining in. So like all the usual live streams, I'm going to try and go for about 2 hours. I will say that I did hurt my neck this past week. So sitting in a chair and looking at a screen for 2 hours might make it act up a little bit. We will see. I will try my best to stay on here as long as I can. But if I go early, that's why. But anyway, like all the other live streams here, we're also going to give priority answering to anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who's a member there with those green usernames you see. They always get that priority answering. And if you'd like that priority answering as well, there's always a link in the description there to join and become a member of the Maran Motoring Club. So anyway, but I see we have Mike, Brian, Truck and Car Guy, Kevin, Sean, Cars, Angry Eddie, Vishal, Sean, Wheatman, Raphael, Luke, Stratus. I mean, so many. Thanks, Zachary, Justin, Slam Sedan. Happy to see everyone join in. Robin saying big creature behind you. I guess we got more people hallucinating here tonight like last week. Yes, I see Mike saying, hey Matt, do you think Toyota would actually do a GR SUV? And if so, do you think they'd base it on the TNGA-L and the or the LC-LS platform, or just TNGA-K? I mean, I don't know. If it's something, just like a souped up version of a current vehicle, which is oftentimes what GR stuff is, then it could be, GR RAV4, whatever they end up using for the next generation platform of that. If it follows the same theme as Camry, then it could be on, what is even the designation for that TNGA platform? I don't remember, but, it could just be something, based on that same thing. But I would expect if they're going to do a GR, something is going to be GR RAV4, maybe GR Crown Signia. Again, if they're going to try and go for something a little higher and sportier, something like that would be my guess for an SUV GR. They could go in a completely different direction. If they want to do something higher end, they could. But to me, I would just assume it's going to be that kind of stuff, even maybe GR Corolla Cross. If they want to just copy and paste the GR, Corolla power plant, they could maybe do that. So I don't know. They have so many SUVs to pick from, obviously, but I think doing one of the more street-focused SUVs makes the most sense. And I think doing something completely unique probably wouldn't make sense, but we'll have to see how they decide to play that one. Let me see. Sean says the new RAV4 plug-in hybrid is the fastest RAV and even faster than the previous title holder, the old V6 there. And so they should do something like that. Yeah, I agree. I think that's most likely the way it would probably go. And Tu, thank you so much for joining in, being a member for 2 years now. Thank you so much, Tu, for 2 years of support. He says 2 years in this basement and still no light bulbs. Cheap. Yep, that is it. Just keep you in a dimly lit basement. I guess that's the way a basement has to be, right? You got to keep the basement vibe going. You can't have one of those glamorous basements. But thanks so much, too, for all the 2 years of support. It really means a lot. MD Can, thank you for being a member for 26 months now. I really appreciate it. I got to do a 2-year and beyond badge. I'm gonna do it. It's on my to-do list. I will get it done. Those of you who have been supporting for over 2 years, if you have a preference for what color you'd like, because I was struggling with it was like white for the regular ones, and then when you go up to 6 month, it's like silver, and then over 12 month is gold. And so trying to figure out do I make something like platinum or something, but then it's gonna look kind of like the silver one, or do we do some other fun color? So maybe if any of you want to chime in about what color you'd like to see, or if you have any other input for what you like, otherwise I can just stay with the gold and just do 2+ years and just do that. Let me know if you have any strong opinions about that. But thank you both so much for all the support here. I see. Okay, Zachary says World Rally Blue. That could be arranged. I could make something like that works. Let me see. Sean says, Matt's late. Let's all give him the silent treatment. Yep. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes behind here. Luke says, my 2020 Acura TLX got 36 mpg from West Virginia to Connecticut last weekend. I was super pleased. That's awesome. That's if you take it easy with those turbo 4-cylinders, that's really where they make it up. Obviously, around town, they can get even thirstier than naturally aspirated stuff. When you're just cruising with cruise control on there, that's kind of where it really pays those dividends. That's really good fuel economy. Thanks for sharing, Luke. Glad you hopefully had a good trip there, and always fun to do a road trip. And Vishal says, did you get to test a new Camry LE? Really seems like a good value. I did. Yeah, I did a little bit of a walk around during my Camry video of the LE. I didn't drive the LE version, but I was really impressed with what you get for the money, and it's going to drive basically the same outside of, the slightly thicker sidewall and the tires and stuff. But I think it's an absolutely good value. I talked about that in my Camry video. It's, I think a really, really impressive base model for sure. And Luke says, I rode my girlfriend's brother's TLX Type S. It was super fun. Yeah, I'm sure, especially if you're coming out of the regular TLX there, it'd be a nice improvement. And yeah, they're a blast. And let me see. Two, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, since Eminem just brought Shady back, you should jump on that bandwagon and bring back the karate chop guy in one weird over-the-top video. That'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, I will be getting a WRX TR, which now I guess the TX was or TS that was just announced. It's going to be, I guess, a little bit of a moot point to review the TR, but I will be having that here, I think, in about a month or so. So maybe I'll bring back the Super Ducks fan karate chops for that one, maybe. How about that? Thanks, too, for the super chat. And yeah, I got to check out the new Eminem video for sure. And let me see. Slam Sedan says, how's it going? Going okay. Like I mentioned when I first started up here, I injured my neck here in the past week, so might not go the full 2 hours. We'll see how my neck holds up, but it's currently kind of painful, unfortunately. Let me see. Slammed also says Southern California is Cybertruck Central. Man, popping up everywhere. Yeah, one vehicle I've been seeing popping up a bunch is Lexus TXs. They're like, I see like at least one or two a day now, and seem like they're selling a lot of them here. So I'm glad that one's doing. I mean, I figured it would be really popular, but I'm glad to see that my suspicions were right. And thankfully, I haven't seen any Cybertrucks since the first three that I saw several weeks ago. But let me see. Thanks for joining in. Ace and Zachary says you're on the living room TV, so my wife is here too. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, you both enjoy the live stream here, and thanks for tuning in, Zachary. And Kevin says, Matt, thanks to you, I know when it's Friday and Sunday because of your videos. Awesome. I'm glad I keep you centered there on the week and all that. Slam Sedan says, also last night my wife and I saw the Elon Musk Starlight satellites. We were like, whoa, nice. Yeah, I don't know how to identify them from other ones, but yeah, always cool to see stuff in the sky. Vishal says, speaking of Toyota, will Lexus invest in more cars on the TNGA L platform? Seems like they're too focused on making models on the K platform. Yeah, I think L, was very limited. It's not going to be a very highly used platform, and it sounds like, they may just not even bother doing any new stuff on it, since all the new high-end stuff coming for Lexus and all that is going to probably, be these new electric things and stuff. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect anything new on TNGAL, but I could be wrong. Seems like, they're just going where the money is, which is the trucks. You can't blame them because they don't sell very many LSs and things like that. Brothers on Wheels says, hey, Matt, talk Wagoneer S to me. Have a 2022 Grand Cherokee, been waiting on some sort of SRT. Don't know if it's different enough to place an order. I mean, it's obviously very different. Straight line performance is going to be, I guess, similar, but even that's delivered in such a wildly different way. It comes down to, if you haven't, had any experience in an EV, I mean, it'll be a new experience and could be good, could be bad, depending on how you feel about that and your, personal preferences on your power delivery preferences and a wide variety of other things. But as far as, Wagoneer S, I mean, I guess, beyond the tour that I already gave, I will just say that, it's expensive. That's really the hang up for me, is that it's 10 grand more than a Model Y performance. If you don't want a Model Y, I wouldn't blame you. There is a zillion of them out there. They're not very distinctive at all. But is it worth paying 10 grand more for, pretty much the same performance and Jeep's first crack in an EV? I just don't know. I'm open-minded. I hope they do a great job on it, and I hope that they come out with more affordable versions quickly that still give you really good base equipment and all that. But yeah, I'm keeping an open mind, but it seems like they came in a little too high on the price. Kind of the same problem as Hornet and some of these others, where they're going to have to rely on incentives, I think, for a lot of this stuff to help move stuff. I mean, obviously, you'll have the early adopters that are excited about an electric Jeep and excited about, just something that fast and all that. And there's no denying that's going to be impressive. And there's a lot of other cool stuff. It's the first EV to have the Macintosh stereo. So a nice, quiet sound stage for an amazing Macintosh stereo. Like, that's going to be really cool if you're a music lover, because everything else that Macintosh has had, I mean, there's still perfectly powerful systems that can overpower the engine sounds of a regular Wagoneer or a Grand Cherokee. But, it just, when you have a better setup there, you don't have to compete with engine noises and stuff. It's going to be, I think, a little cooler in that standpoint. I mean, so there's different things here and there. It has CarPlay. So if, that's something that you really want and you can't get that in, the coming GM stuff, and you can't get it in a Tesla, there's, like I said, there's little niches there, but I think it's not going to be a mass appeal kind of vehicle. But we'll have to wait and see. And two, thank you for another super chat. He says, the WXTR video, you have to fill it with basement lore Easter eggs. I will try my best to try and maybe work something in that doesn't sound too off-putting for people that aren't in on the inside joke there. But thank you, too, for another super chat. And let me see. So Wheatman says bronze for the new badge. Okay, that could be cool. Yeah, I'm up for that. And FR8 says, good evening, Matt. Hello from Texas. I cannot wait to hear or see more about the new Toyota 4Runner. Yeah, I'm excited to drive it, later this year. And yeah, it's going to be basically, I'm assuming, same kind of deal as Tacoma. So all the thoughts that are out there already on Tacoma, as far as the base engine, the hybrid ones, all that, I'm assuming it's going to be pretty similar. But we'll see if they do anything else to differentiate it, or if there's a vastly different feel not having the cab on the back. I don't know, but it'll be a great vehicle nonetheless. It's great to see a new 4Runner finally after all these years. So yeah, it should be good. Luke says my TLX is the NA 2.4. Gotcha. Okay, so 2020. All right, I was thinking 2021. So yeah, you got the NA. All right. Well, still, I mean, then I guess my point is invalidated. You got the NA motor and you're still getting 36 mpg, which is great. Were those the 8-speed automatic? I'm assuming that's how you're getting that too, because that always certainly helps, having a modern transmission with more than 6 speeds typically. And Good Stick says, one of my friends upgraded from a 94 Mazda Miata to a 2024 Mazda 3 hatchback yesterday. That is quite the leap. Man, they went a full 2 decades newer. That is actually 3 decades, right? Yeah, that is wild. I'd love to hear what their thoughts are on that massive jump, but good for them. Congrats, and hopefully enjoy the Mazda 3 there. Trent Car Guy says, I think I've already seen a 25 Camry in the wild. Yeah, I haven't seen, my brother-in-law sold one like a week and a half ago or something. He's a Toyota salesman, but I haven't seen any on the road yet myself. And Zachary says, of course, the more affordable Equinox gave you a video with twice the views of the expensive Jeep. Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. Again, everyone wants something affordable. And also, yeah, I think, there's definitely, at least I see on my channel, there's a stigma about Stellantis products still. I mean, GM has plenty of haters as well, but it seems like people really come out of the woodwork to bash on Stellantis stuff. So maybe there's some of that as well. And Mike says, hey, Matt, thoughts on the Tundra recall? I don't keep up on recalls very well. I heard, the early days there of having some engine issues. I don't know if there's a new one that I missed or what, but hopefully they get all this stuff figured out with Tundra, because they don't want to have people doubting the reliability of a Toyota. So hopefully they can get stuff fixed soon and put that stuff behind them. And Luke says, my brother-in-law's 2023 Grand Cherokee L differential went out with only 22,000 miles. Speaking of Stellantis stuff, that's unfortunate to hear. At least it's under warranty, right? So they can give him a new one, hopefully for free. But that's crazy. Yeah, I've been hearing that there's I keep hearing about quality issues with Stellantis stuff, especially newer Stellantis stuff. I want to root for them. I want them to do well, but it's really hard when you keep hearing these kinds of stories a lot, and it doesn't help. I just posted the Ram video a few weeks ago, and people really came out of the woodwork there to say, oh yeah, I have a bunch of problems with my thing too. So there was a bunch of that. Some people saying theirs was totally fine, which also was refreshing to hear. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Stellantis stuff. It's really a shame. Trent Car Guy says, from what I've seen it work so far, Stellantis as a whole is having some growing pains with their new hybrids, with Cherokees and Rams throwing check engine lights with 5,000 miles or so from new. Yeah, it's weird. I think the UAW, there was a complaint that some of the wiring is a tiny bit too short, and so it causes stuff to end up having loose connections, and that's throwing up some of these issues. So maybe there's things like that, but then things like a differential going, it's not a wiring thing, it's just mechanical stuff too. So it's like from all sides they're getting it. I don't know. Strata says, hey Matt, how was your experience with fuel consumption on the Jeep PHEVs? My cousin got the Wrangler 4xe and mentioned how it goes to gas only every few months until the fuel is used up and refueled. Yeah, so I don't remember what my fuel consumption was like with the plug-in hybrid. I mean, I've only done the 4xe Wrangler. I haven't done the Grand Cherokee. But I mean, from my recollection, the motor's just not super strong. So it was definitely one of those ones where, like, if you take it easy, you can drive it like an EV. It's decent for sure, but I found myself just accidentally kicking on the gas engine every once in a while. So yeah, it's, once it's using the gas engine, it's not going to be super fuel efficient. I believe what I was getting was, a couple mpg off of the rated range like I typically do. And it's just because it's dragging around 700 pounds or so, I think it is, of electrical stuff and batteries and all that whenever it's not. And so it's definitely a vehicle you want to keep it plugged in as much as you possibly can, if you want to maximize that efficiency. And Slam says, is it true the Toyota is recalling 100,000 Tundras for engine issues? Okay, so more context here about the Tundra thing. If that's crazy, if that's the case, I haven't heard that. But if others are hearing that, clearly, I guess that's a thing that might be happening. I wish I kept up more on recalls to comment on those, but if that's true, then that's pretty wild. Because it's gonna be a lot of money, but I mean, if that's what they need to do, I'm glad they're doing it. Michelle says, had a 24 Jetta Sport loaner for a day recently while my 16 Passat was in for service. Good car for 25 grand, but the 4-speaker sound system was terrible in it. Will never take car audio for granted again. Man, 4 speakers, that's pretty bold. I feel like even most like crappy stuff has like 6 speakers these days. Even like a GR86 with its base version, I think, is 6 speakers. So that is that's bold to go with just 4. But yeah, I mean, it seems like they're pretty solid little vehicles. You can get it with a manual, I think, still. And so there's some redeeming stuff about it. I think there's actually someone on here they commented in the past that they had one, I believe. But maybe they can comment if they happen to be in here. But yeah, it's funny. The Jetta's a good little car if you get a good deal on it, though, I think. And Luke says it's an 8-speed DCT in his TLX. Gotcha. Okay, well, yeah, at least you got the 8 speeds there, and I guess dual clutch potentially means you could have even more fuel efficiency. So good to know that it's a good solid setup there. Hopefully it's been treating you well, Luke. And Goodstick says, with the Super gone, could Mazda and Toyota work on the next generation Super as the inline 6 from Mazda? Could be a really good engine. Yeah, that's what I proposed in the weekly update, and I think that would be the most logical way to do it. Based on the info we know and just what's out there, I think that's, if they are going to do one, which isn't a guarantee, but if they decide to do one, I think that's probably the way they'll go about it. But no guarantees. And Trent Car Guy says, this is why I have an older Dodge in regards to the Stellantis stuff. Yeah, I think it's good to have some tried and true technology sometimes, especially if you're someone who's a little nervous about that stuff, where you just want to have a problem-free experience, which is a completely reasonable expectation when you're spending new car money these days. Goodstick says, how is the Nissan Z doing? I have not seen any of these on the road. Yeah, I think I've seen 2 so far this year, so I'm seeing a tiny bit more than the 0 I saw last year, but seems like, again, no one's buying them still, or they're at least not buying them around here for some reason. I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, seems like they are not doing very well. I think a lot of it's just they had some production issues, and then dealers are still just holding them hostage. And I think it's just those 2 things are just making the prices high and people saying, okay, I'll just go somewhere else and get something easier. So I think that's probably part of the problem. I don't know. And Angry Eddie says, it's weird because my family's 2019 Wrangler has been trouble-free for over 80,000 miles. Must have been a good day at the plant. Yeah, I think it's that, or I mean, yeah, it seems like stuff those early years, I haven't heard too many issues about those in particular. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there's others that do say like they have a new Ram that's, a year or two old and it's totally solid. So some of that still just comes down to luck of the draw, I think. I don't know how it makes zero sense, but I think that is it's one of those things you got to gamble on sometimes. You never know what you're going to get. There's some people that had, super reliable little Corollas 10 years ago that still had an issue. There's always going to be a tiny percentage. It just comes down to how large they let that percentage get, basically. And Slam Sedan says, also, I've spotted about 10 new Tacomas and a Fisker Ocean. I gave him a thumbs up or a thumbs down on your behalf. Man, well, I'd give him a thumbs up to hopefully they're having a good day driving their Fisker car or Fisker Ocean, because yeah, I'd be so stressed out if I was owning one of those. So man, I don't know why people did that to themselves, but I wish them all the best. And it's surprising you're seeing that many new Tacomas, because I think I've seen one or two, but they're actually really rare around here so far. And Mike says, does the Wagoneer S confuse you as to why it wasn't called some sort of electric Grand Cherokee? Yes, basically everyone I talked to at the event was like, why is it not just Grand Cherokee S or something? Because it's Grand Cherokee sized, and it's yeah, I don't know how the Wagoneer thing really fits in, to be totally honest. I know obviously they want to use that to justify the higher price tag and maybe soften the blow if you call it a Wagoneer. But it's also just strange because they have a regular Wagoneer already. So if it was only Grand Wagoneer, I'd see, okay, there's a little more differentiation there, but just regular Wagoneer. And then, Wagoneer S could be a trim of regular Wagoneer to the uninformed, So, it would have been nice to just see a new name too, there's lots of new names. I know they want to stick with brand equity, and a lot of companies with these EVs and their transition, they really want to cling on to some kind of familiar name so that it's not throwing people off too much. But it's a new opportunity. It's a blank slate. It's a new canvas. Like, take a little creative liberty and a little bit of a risk. And, this is how names, if you never start new names, then how are you ever going to have the iconic nameplates of tomorrow? You can't just call everything the old stuff forever and ever, and just, yeah, it would have been nice to see a new name. And Luke says, one thing that surprised me about my TLX being only the base, when I put it in a sport mode, I do notice a significant difference in the driving. Nice. Yeah. Hopefully, it gives you a little bit of quicker throttle, maybe sharper steering, stuff like that. Yeah, it's fun to have those kind of modes to customize things exactly how you want them. And let me see. Raphael says, I've seen a good amount of Supras. I still haven't seen a Z on the road. Yeah, same. I don't see a ton of Supras, at least not this year. I haven't seen too many just yet, but definitely more than the Z's for sure. Zachary says, from my wife, Babs, we went to brunch today and came out to a 21 plus TLX A-spec in red, and we geeked out about it. They still look so good. I agree. I know. I love the styling of those new TLXs. It is so sharp. When I had that Type S a few weeks ago, coming out to it, I was like, man, seeing that thing in the driveway, it looked good. I still love that styling. Newt, thanks for joining in, for moderating. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, Zach. And yeah, thanks so much for joining in. And Good Stick says, I did a Carfax on my parents' old 99 Camry. We were the third owner. It's now on its seventh owner with 390,000 miles. Wow. That must have been fun to read that and see all the servicing and where it's been and all that. I'm glad to hear that that's still kicking. That's really, really cool. I love running Carfaxes on old cars. It's just so intriguing to me. Trent Car Guy says, we just got my mom's Ultima serviced, and while we were waiting, I had to look around 6 or 7 new Z's sitting in the showroom, including a Nismo. I think they wanted 70 for the Nismo and like 50, 60 for the Z's. Unless you're talking 70 grand markup, but if it's 70 for the Nismo, I think they are high 60s already. So that would actually be a reasonably priced one if they're actually at least close to sticker. But yeah, it's I mean, but there you go. There's 6 or 7 sitting in a showroom. You usually don't have that many sports cars sitting in a showroom. Something is wrong if you have 6 or 7 Z's sitting in your showroom. Maybe it's time to look in the mirror if you're a salesman there or the GM there and say, why are we collecting Z's when we're in the business of selling cars? But whatever. I mean, they can keep paying their floor plan interest rates that they have to pay for all their inventory and stuff. If they think it's worth it to wait for someone to come around and pay top dollar, then I guess that's their choice. But anyway, thank you so much for another super chat. He says WXTR video SWF. We rattled our chains for a new STI and they gave us this. That'd be a good way to work it in. Good idea. There's also SWF. It's not a GR Corolla, but hopefully Matt doesn't mind. Right? Yeah. It'll be what I'll compare it to, because at that point the TR is basically that same kind of a price, and we will have to wait and see if brakes and slight tuning to the brake booster and stuff magically makes it better than a GR Corolla, but you can probably figure that one out already. I'm probably going to just get a GR Corolla. And thank you for another super chat. He says, audience, did he just speak in third person, or are they two actual different people? Yeah, people will start being concerned about me if I start talking in the third person, I think. But they'll just wonder if I'm okay. But let me see. Yavinder says, hey, Matt, have you seen any Tesla Cybertrucks or Hummer EVs on the road yet? Yes, I saw 3 Cybertrucks about a month or so ago. I saw one coming at me at night, and thankfully didn't run into me. And then I saw 2 with the weird goldish tint to them on the PA Turnpike. Actually, when I was coming back from filming that Miata video a little over a month ago. And so those two on the Turnpike had California plates, and I don't know. I think they might have been Tesla employees, because they seemed like they were the generic kind of California plates. It didn't say manufacturer, but they were traveling in a pack and stuff. I just figured no one in a Cybertrucks with California plates is all the way in Pittsburgh this quickly. But I don't know. As far as Hummer EVs, I've seen 1 or 2 on the road, but not a whole lot of those either. I mean, they admittedly with those, they haven't been building a ton of them. They are starting to ramp up, I think, a little bit now, but it's just so intensive to build that giant battery pack that you're not going to have, I think, huge volumes of production for those ever. So they're always going to be kind of rare, but don't see too many of those either. Sam Sedan says, one of my buddies bought a 2020 Silverado with reoccurring issues until his transmission blew, and he was happy he had the warranty still. I'm sure. Yeah, that's the good thing about warranties. I very much enjoy having a vehicle with some kind of warranty on it. It definitely takes some of the mental concern off of you, let me see. Silvano says, I think I've seen 1 black and 0 yellow Z's on the road. I mean, I could see yellow being a tough sell, but at least you've seen 1 at the black, so that's good that someone's seeing a Z on the road. Cam Jim says, hi, Matt, a little late. I've been trying to find a car for my parents. They want something refined yet sporty, but also reliable. Everything I find requires premium gas, which sucks. Any good options? I would just make sure that they actually truly require it, because a lot of companies recommend it, but a lot of modern stuff you can get away with regular. As far as something refined and sporty and reliable, I mean, my go-to is always going to be a Toyota or a Honda or something like that. As far as body styles goes, it's, as SUVs goes, all the main players are always, good choices. I mean, CX-5 Mazda is my, favorite compact crossover. I think that Accord is still probably my favorite sedan, although new Camry is pretty close. And I believe all of those, run regular gas. There's those types of things. If they want something sportier than that, CX-5 offers the turbo, but there's obviously just so many things. I need more context from you, and feel free to send me a message, Cam Jam, if you like. If we want to really drill down to some more specific recommendations for them, I'd be more than happy to do that. And Silvano says, I've seen more Cybertrucks than Z's. Actually, me as well. So crazy. And Newt agrees. Yeah, a few Cybertrucks, but no Z's. It's a shame. And Michelle says, someone in my neighborhood has a Cybertruck. As much as I hate it, I'm used to it now, so it doesn't bother me anymore. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I've just accepted it's a thing, and live and let live, as I like to say. If people enjoy it, go for it. But it's just the more giant, blunt-faced vehicles that are very heavy that are out there. It's probably not the best for society and safety, but it is what it is. As long as these people understand that their full self-driving system is not full self-driving and they're actually interested in doing the driving themselves, hopefully it'll be okay and they'll be extra cautious, or so we'd like to naively believe that. At least I hope to believe that people actually are going to be good drivers in them, but I know that's probably not going to be the case. But sorry, I missed the two other things that popped up here. So Sean, thank you so much for being a member for 23 months. I really appreciate it. And he says, happy Pride Month. That should rile up some trolls. Anywho, how's the press car as a daily thing going? What happens when you get a Miata? Yes, I will also add the happy Pride Month to all of you out there that are excited about that and celebrate that. So as far as how's the press car thing going? So press car thing's going just fine. As far as daily driving press vehicles, I'm still doubled up every week here, and I have press cars scheduled basically the whole summer. So I should be good on press cars as far as being a daily driver goes. And Miata, whenever that happens, we always have Beth's car to drive around our daughter in. So that'll be just a fun one for me. But unfortunately, they had a Miata in the fleet, and then they pulled it because of a special request, supposedly. So I didn't get a chance at it. Supposedly it was one of the only manuals on the East Coast, and so they wanted to bring it to someone who was more important, I guess. So I'm hoping to get it at some point, but I'm so far scheduled out on press vehicles at this point that I won't get a Miata in until at least August now, unless something pops up and surprises me or something gets changed. But it's going to be a while, unfortunately. I'm not happy about that because I was hoping to cover that pretty early, because summertime is when you want to cover a Miata, not, whenever it's starting to get cold. But it is what it is. I don't have any control over it. So, but yeah. And thanks for being a member again, Sean, for 23 months. And Vinny, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I really appreciate it, and happy to see everyone was able to grab those. But thank you for your generosity, Vinny. We all really appreciate it. And getting back to other member questions here. So let me see. Estevan says, I saw exactly one Hummer EV, and they also had a Rivian heavy EV flexors. Apparently, that's funny. And Michelle says, seen quite a few Hummer EVs in my area too, both the truck and the SUV. Nice. Well, glad that there's a few more of those popping up, but the same thing applies that I said to the Cybertruck. Hopefully they pay attention. At least they don't have something that claims to be full self-driving, but Hummers are even heavier and potentially therefore more dangerous. So hopefully all the Hummer owners are responsible, prudent folks. Again, I can dream, right? And Slam Sedan says, I have barely seen any Zs, including 350s and 370s. Yeah, those are getting more and more rare these days too. I used to see a lot more of them, and I think now there's been a lot of them just been beat up so bad, and just are getting a little harder to find as they age. And let me see. So lost my place here. Where was I? Mike says, what mainstream OEM do you think takes safety and crash structure the most serious? Honda? I guess if you're excluding the luxury stuff, then I'd say Honda probably. Yeah. Although they had a big miss. The IHS just did the new crash test that was focused on the back seat for the CRV, and it just did not do well. Yeah, that was a kind of a bummer to see, because Honda usually is, again, super focused on that. But I think generally speaking, overall, yeah, I'd say Honda is probably the top. I think Subaru does as well, but I think some of theirs is marketing stuff, because they too, when the new test is introduced, they kind of get caught off guard a little bit as well. So they have a very good track record, but I think they're also not amazing. I think Mazda also takes safety very seriously, and when you look at their ratings, a lot of times they're getting even better ratings than some of the other mainstream brands, and they are consistently very high across the board. I think for a while, I don't know the exact claim right now, but for a while, I believe they had the most chunk of their lineup having 5-star everything top safety pick plus awards. I don't know if that's still true, but yeah, they are very high up there as well. So I'd say, yeah, Honda, Subaru, Mazda are probably my top three from a safety standpoint. But again, all the Japanese and most mainstream brands do take it very seriously and do a very good job of, trying to at least meet those standards and those, new tests that come out, even if it takes them a year or two to catch up. And let me see. Raphael, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, there's a lesson here. People complain about the Super being a joint venture. So Nissan built the Z alone, and people complain about the price. Yeah, that's true. I really would love to find out like what it actually costs them to build a Z, because, with so many recycled parts, part of me thinks that even doing it by themselves, they got a little greedy maybe with that one, and there might be some more wiggle room there. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like Nissan corporate's budging. So maybe they're either throwing their hands up because the dealers are the ones screwing them, or it's just that they think that they're okay with their current situation, and maybe they are. Maybe they're happy with it for some reason. I don't know. And thank you again, Raphael, for the super chat there. And two, thank you for another super chat. He says, happy Pride Month. Would love to decorate the basement, but any color ends up monotone or Highland green. There you go. Well, if you try and bring some rainbow colors down there, I will try and make sure that the basement properly reflects that, so you can properly celebrate Pride Month there too. And thank you for a super chat. And let me see, getting back to the member questions here. Luke says, I'm looking forward to the Civic hybrid hatchback. Give Prius a run for its money, especially in the cargo category. I mean, yeah, you can already, assume that it's going to, there's no difference in the cargo space, I don't think. So Civic hybrid hatch is going to be the better way to go if you're worried about practicality. It's going to have a bigger back seat, more headroom. It's going to be, from a livability standpoint, better in all the ways over Prius. But and it'd be interesting to see if it's priced similar to Prius or how they play that. But performance is going to be probably even a little bit better than Prius potentially. It's just that Prius still has the edge of the plug-in hybrid, so they do have that going for them. But as far as regular hybrids goes, yeah, Civic, if they don't screw up the pricing, will be a really good competitor. And Trent Carger says, I don't think the dealership is doing well. Salesmen were getting desperate. Well, apparently not desperate enough if they still got 6 or 7 Zs sitting around. Oh, man. The Good Stick says, is the new Honda Prelude basically going to be another Civic Coupe, as it seems to share the same formula? Yeah, if all the rumors are right, yeah, that sounds like that is exactly how that's going to go, which, yeah, it makes you wonder, because they were talking about, we couldn't sell enough coupes and whatever reasons they gave for why Civic, coupe was ending, was maybe just them just not wanting to say that they have a new Prelude coming or something. I don't know, because I highly doubt that there's any better justification now for a coupe than there was a few years ago when the Civic Coupe went away. But I don't know. And Sean says, everyone send me good vibes. I have a meeting with HR on Wednesday to see if I'm still employed or on the job market. Man, well, good luck, Sean. That's tough. Wish you all the best. That's got to be a lot of stress and not a lot of fun. So good vibes. Hope everything works out, and best of luck. Good Stick says, ironic we're talking about Tesla. 3 of my projects that my classmates did research on is the horrible state of autopilot. Yeah, I'm waiting for the just barrage of lawsuits over that and over the other sketchy things it appears Elon is most likely doing, and the company as a whole. Just, man, I don't know. I think there's a whole lot more of the Tesla story to unravel, I think. It'd be very interesting to see how the next few years plays out for them, but I would not want to be a shareholder, in my opinion, based on the trend I envision for them. But the vendor says, what are your thoughts on this new trend of split headlights? I personally hate it. Ruins the looks and makes car drivers blind. Split headlights, I think the idea was that it lowers the headlight so that it hopefully blinds people a little less than having really high mounted stuff would. As far as the look, I mean, it depends on the company. Some companies execute it really well, others do a horrible job with it. I think for me, it's something, since Jeep Cherokee introduced it, what, 10 years ago now at this point or something. I hated it back when it first came out, but now I've kind of gotten used to it to the point where it's, mostly fine to me in most applications, I'd say. But again, there are still some where I'm like, ugh, like that's not well done. But I can't think of any off the top of my head currently outside of like maybe BMW X7 doesn't look very good, in my opinion, with the way they did that. Maybe one or two others, but yeah, I mean, I like the idea. If the idea is to, again, get that headlight lower, I think it's definitely, a good goal, and hopefully it, is a benefit for people out there on the road. Um, and let me see. Zachary says, in case you guys are like me and have a bunch of random license plates and forgot what they were for, the Carfax Car Care app was able to pull most of mine up and tell me what car the plates went to. Interesting. That's a cool little tip. Thanks for sharing, Zachary. And it's not a sponsor. Even just says Happy Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Anything as far as mental health goes, obviously needs to also definitely be a focus as well. That's definitely, as we see, is very apparent these days. Mental health definitely could use some improvement. And society as a whole, just the way things are constructed these days, is not the best. But Michelle says, does your daughter enjoy seeing all the different press cars you get? Any car in particular she was more excited about than others? Yeah, great question. So, yeah, she likes checking them out every week. She has different colors she loves, and the color preferences seem to change. So sometimes it's red, sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's blue. It just depends. But the one car she was really excited about, I haven't posted the review yet, but it's the Pacifica plug-in hybrid. She loved the van, and I think part of it's the independence that she was able to press the button and the door opened automatically. No other car does that outside of, a Rolls Royce or something. So like her being able to like get in by herself in a way was really empowering and exciting for her, I think. So she loved that. She also loved that it had TVs, but then was greatly disappointed when the TVs didn't work. Spoiler alert. The Amazon Fire TV stick that they have built into the Pacifica, at least the press vehicle one I had, didn't have the Wi-Fi hotspot set up, at least that I could tell. So I couldn't connect to the internet to play shows, and she was just begging to watch TV on the screens all week. And I was like, I'm sorry, it doesn't work. And it was, so it was a mixed bag there for her for that one, but she really enjoyed it. And she was like asking me, when am I going to get another van? She was really sad to see the van go. I wasn't there when they swapped that, but Beth told me that she actually that our daughter actually cried a little bit whenever the lady had to come take the key and take the van away. So she was very sad to see that one go. That was definitely hands down her favorite. Chrysler Pacifica is the daughter of Matt Moran's vehicle of choice currently. So there you go. And let me see. Hugo says, hey, Matt, making cupcakes with my son and girlfriend watching your live feed. Did you hear that Tundra's engines are having problems? Yeah, I'm out of the loop on these recalls. Yeah, two other people mentioned this already. Said I met someone who had a new Tundra, need a new engine already. Man, it's amazing that they messed it up that badly. Toyota knows that people buy their stuff for the reliability. I mean, that motor was in development forever. And the new Tundra got delayed, a couple of times. And I think what I was hearing originally was, yeah, they were having engine issues. And then they finally, I guess, got to a place they were comfortable with to put it out there, but I mean, that's why I think Tundra took longer than people were expecting it to. But it sounds like clearly there's still issues. But I mean, they put years of miles on these motors. So it's still surprising that all of a sudden there's these massive issues that they didn't uncover in their own testing. It's a bummer because, again, people buy Toyotas for reliability, and they're really damaging the brand if it's truly this widespread like it seems to be. Not a good look. They're gonna have some damage control to do, and some real having to, I guess, come back from that a little bit, because with the last generation doing like 1 million miles famously, it's you got to have that engine be 120% good, so that's a bummer, and that's probably going to put a damper on Tacoma as well, because it's like, okay, well, is the Tacoma motor going to be, having any kind of similar issues? Was this isolated to just that V6, or is this going to be, is there something with these four cylinders? What's going on at Toyota here? And I hope that they're, as transparent as they can be about what went wrong, what they fixed, and hopefully they, come up with a fix very quickly to kind of can reassure everyone, before it gets any worse. And let me see. So Evander says the Z's built on existing. Okay, sorry, I missed the conversation there. Dorian says, I think Matt should grow a handlebar mustache. Yeah, nah, maybe someday if that is more in fashion, but I am not a bold enough person to rock that. That would take more confidence than I have. And Mike says, hey, Matt, I watched your optic video, but it most likely won't get suspension upgrades over the Equinox EV, right? I mean, it's gonna definitely be different tuning, but beyond that, I don't know if the components are different. I would assume probably not, but I'd have to ask, to get official confirmation. And hopefully when I do the review on that, I'll, be able to get some more info on all those details and how much it shares with Equinox and how much is different. But I'm almost, it's definitely going to have different tuning. So if you're hoping for something that's smoother or sportier, I don't know which way they'll play it, but they're going to have, I think, luxury and sport trims. So there'll be probably two different ways they could play it potentially. We'll see. But yeah, optics seems really cool. I mean, I think the price point is pretty solid for a Cadillac EV that's as roomy and spacious and luxurious and high tech as it is. I think, there's a lot of stuff you get in that base one too. So I think that's actually really well priced. I'm really happy to see that GM generally is pricing things really well right now, because for so many years it was like, well, it's really high on the sticker, but they offer discounts with the dealer and stuff. Now you don't have to rely on those discounts. It's just good pricing right out of the gate, which I think is great. And let me see. So Good Stick says, in 2019, me and my family went to a rental car place, and since there wasn't any car available, they gave us a premium car, and that car was a Q50. Nice. I mean, that's definitely a nice upgrade, and hope you enjoy the Q50. I think they're great cars. The Good Stick says, your daughter would go crazy for the Model X with the Falcon doors. Maybe she would. Yeah, if you can open those yourself, or she can. I think she likes pressing a button too. So like, if there's a button to press and they don't just automatically open, I think the button is kind of part of the key to the fun for her. And B. Mitchell says, oh, gee, another Stellantis with a software and hardware glitch. Yeah, it seems to really be a trend. I'm rooting for them, but it's unfortunate. Ace says, do you think Mazda will ever release a CX-60 or fix the CX-50 to make it an RDX GV70 competitor? I don't know. I could see maybe a next gen CX-50 being bigger and more different, because, I think CX-50, I mean, they won't say this, but my guess is the goal was for that to eventually be a CX-5 replacement, just like how CX-30 replaced CX-3. But then when they saw, the people were buying CX-50s, but not as much as CX-5s, and CX-5 was still selling really, really well, I think, they wanted to just be a little more careful. And so if they stick with this formula of, okay, there's going to be a new CX-5 coming, which they've confirmed, if that's coming, then you got to make CX-50 a little more different. And I think that, making it a bigger vehicle, that's different from, it's just that then they're kind of stuck though, because CX-70 is the same length, so they really can't make CX-50 any bigger without stepping on the 70's toes. So I don't know, I feel like they may have to just like let that segment go and just have CX-50 be the rugged CX-5 and leave it from there. Let me see, Mike says here, in case you didn't see number, it's 100,000 Tacoma or Tundras they were calling. They claim it was a mistake / error in the production process of debris not being cleared off. Okay, well then that is reassuring, because if that is truly the case, then it's not an engineering flaw. It's not, Toyota losing their mojo. It's just that the factory's screwing up, which I've been hearing there's a lot of stories about that, not with just Toyota, but just other companies in general. Just production is also kind of dropping the ball on some of this stuff too, which is causing some of these issues. So yeah, bunch of stuff just going on. It's like, man, these cars are so expensive. They've never been more expensive. everybody's got to be held to a higher standard, with these high prices as far as production, engineering, whatever. Like, it's all, you can't just be like, oh yeah, it's a Friday car or whatever. Like, you gotta, like, be better than that, I think, now. And Cam Jam says, I couldn't believe what Jim Farley had said about the Mustang nameplate never going on an EV crossover. He must have been partying a little too hard the night before. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think that interview was in the UK, so I mean, maybe they were just kicking back some beers and just having a fun night at the pub, and that's why he said that. I'd love to know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the Ford executive offices after that interview came out to see what ended up happening with that. But Slam says, Matt, give us spoiler alerts on your M340i review. I feel like you loved it. I did. I really don't want to spoil the video because I need every view I can get. But I mean, the bottom line for M340i, it's definitely the best in many ways. I mean, one of the ways you can safely assume already is the sound. It sounds better than everything else that it competes against, and that's a really important thing. It's punchy, it's powerful, but it's also expensive. You pay a price premium, pretty clearly over basically everything else it competes against. So it's still, to me, even though it sounds better and it is very good, you pay more for that. And so even on the used market, so even if it is better, to me, as you'll see in my comparison whenever I post the video on Tuesday, it's still going to come down to, are all of the advantages of the M340i worth $5,000 to you? If you don't care that much about driving dynamics and you just want better sound, you can do an exhaust on any of the other competitors for less than $5,000 and have a really good sounding vehicle still. So there's some things there, so there's a lot of caveats. I'll lay that out better in the video in a more cohesive, less rambly way. But yeah, I'd say M340i is great, but to me, it doesn't discount my love of the other competitors in that segment as well, which also are very good in their own ways. And let me see. Dorian says, did I miss the mandatory cat showing? I've not seen them yet. No, neither of our cats have shown up yet. That's usually a Beth thing, because otherwise my door is firmly latched here so that they don't try and disrupt. But they don't really come in, because if Beth's in the other room, they always want to just hang out with her anyway. So no cat showings tonight, most likely. And Slam says, I can picture Matt with that mustache, a Harley, and a Bad to the Bone tattoo. Wow, that is that is quite the leap. Yeah, I can't picture that. That's funny that it's funny that you can. Yeah, that is definitely not me, but that would be hilarious. Maybe a Halloween costume or something someday. And V Mitchell says, late getting here. I was stuck in traffic in part because is it me, or is smart cruise control making traffic more difficult by making cars speed up and slow down rather than sticking to one speed? Interesting. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many people really use their adaptive cruise super often. Maybe a lot of people do, at least around you. People still seem to be erratic and like, I don't know. To me, there's no change in driving behavior that I've really seen recently. But maybe it's just something near your area. Maybe there's more people with that kind of technology or something. I don't know. Interesting. But all good. Thanks for joining us, V Mitchell. And Two says, by the way, my neighbor said don't mention his name, but would you do his job? You have to stop YouTube. Interesting. So yeah, Two's neighbor like tests cars, like I guess for the manufacturer or something, like very early prototypes. And that would be fun. The only thing about me is I'm not very good with like side of the road diagnostics, and like I don't love being stranded. I would probably be a nervous wreck doing your neighbor's job too, because obviously it's something you get used to it after a while, but I would be, like, oh crap, like something's gonna break. I'm gonna be a big embarrassment in traffic here and like screw everybody up or something, So being an early beta tester for vehicles probably would not be great for my, risk tolerance and, built-in anxieties already. So, yeah, probably wouldn't be something that I'd be able to do. I mean, if it paid a ton of money, maybe, but I have so much fun at this job that no, it would probably would be a no to do your neighbor's job, in my opinion. It's really cool, but yeah, I'm not a fan of driving unreliable vehicles around. And B Mitchell says, I have old school cruise control. I lock it down at a fixed speed, and the same cars keep passing me, and I pass them again, all on rural freeways. Yeah, I guess it just depends because I don't know. I mean, maybe a decent amount of people use cruise control as well, but um, for me, I feel like adaptive cruise should be more natural with slowing everything down versus more erratic braking, with people that are modulating their own gas where they're, you know, like I said, what I've noticed, people love to coast down hills, then they go slow up hills and then, they don't compensate. So it's very inconsistent. I feel like the consistency of adaptive cruise or just cruise in general, because you can't use regular cruise in traffic really, so I feel like hopefully traffic would flow more smoothly, with adaptive cruise, but maybe that's naive and, maybe there's just other reasons why that's not possible. And Steven says, hi, Matt, what are your guilty pleasure type cars? I guess for me, stuff that I can't transport the family in would be, I guess, a guilty pleasure car by nature for me. So anything that's two-seater would be a guilty pleasure. So Miatas, F-types, any supercar, anything like that. I think all that kind of stuff is probably in that category for me. And let me see. Zachary says, I love how long you just sat there using Super Cruise in the Equinox video. Is impressive. It's great. I mean, obviously you still have to be looking at the road and focusing and all that, but me talking with my hands, it gives me a lot more freedom to do that, and it really illustrates the Super Cruise there. But it's so good. I mean, it really is. I'm not just saying that in the video. Like, it's truly my favorite system. I can relax with that system. I can trust it. It does what I want it to do. A lot of other systems, even if they're trustworthy, there's still times where I'm like, you're a little closer to that 18-wheeler than I would be. I want to get over closer to the shoulder and give them some space. And, it seems like Super Cruise always does the things. It's almost like it reads my mind. Like it knows how humans actually want to drive, not the correct way to drive, but, just what makes us comfortable. Like Super Cruise, not only is it good and that's comforting, but it's just also comforting in the way that it makes those little adaptations and deviates from the absolute, best line or whatever, and I like that about it. It's really, really good. And it's so good to see that it's available on the Equinox. Yes, it's really expensive. And, if you're doing a ton of road trips, it's hard to argue that an EV is probably a great choice anyway. So it might be a kind of a catch-22 with Super Cruise and the Equinox, but I'm really glad they offered it. And even if you just use it for your commute every day for 20 or 30 miles, it just again gives you that break of just having your hands resting on your lap. It's really, you can't appreciate it until you try it for yourself, especially ideally on a longer drive. And let me see. So Vishal says, thoughts on the current Audi lineup? I think Audi's lineup is really solid. It's definitely aged and dated, but it's solid. It seems like, they're pretty reliable. They're all really well done. I think the infotainment systems, excuse me, I am dragging a little bit tonight. It's been a busy weekend. They're just, I don't know. I really like Audis. And if, since I don't love a lot of the BMW styling and the way they are doing their interiors and stuff, and Mercedes, I mean, they do some okay stuff, but a lot of their stuff is a little just like, again, I wouldn't do things the way they do. Excuse me. The Audi is the one, like, generally between the German three, if you pick whatever segment you want to pick, 9 times out of 10, I think I'd probably tell you I'm going to pick the Audi in that segment. Just part of that's personal preference. So again, it's going to come down to exactly what you need and want and all that. But I was thinking about that the other day where I was driving in an Audi that I'll be doing a video on here soon in July, I guess is when I'll be posting that one. But I was driving it and I'm like, man, like, I really love the way Audi does everything. It's familiar, but it's still good. It's still plenty high tech. They all drive really well. They're just, I don't know. I feel very at home in this current generation of Audi stuff. So I love them. I know a lot of people, again, are annoyed that they're not doing stuff more radically or faster with their new rollouts and stuff. But I think that I really like most of the new Audis out there. I don't know. There's maybe a few that I haven't tested that maybe I wouldn't love. Like I don't know about the Q4 e-tron or anything, but all the mainstream stuff is really good. It's always a good week when I have an Audi to drive. And Mike says, I know I've asked before, but do you think we finally see the Hurricane Inline 6 end up in the Grand Cherokee within the next year? Yeah, I'm willing to bet that that's probably going to happen at some point. How they go about doing it, if they just have it as an option, or if they try and brand it as some type of, SRT thing or what, I don't know. I don't know if we'll see it within the next year, maybe, because there is that refresh supposedly coming for 2025, I think. But I don't know. It's got to be soon, but I guess there's part of me that thinks that maybe they just will never do it anyway. Like if they're really trying to bring down their emissions, the last thing they need to do is add an inline six. Instead, I think the quicker way to bring down your emissions is just have everyone deal with a 4-cylinder, or if you want more power, get the plug-in hybrid one. So I think that would probably be the way they will go. So I think there's a decent chance they just don't even do Hurricane 6 in the Grand Cherokee potentially. And Brent says, so sad you had to sell the Bullet, wanted one and drove 2 of them. Nice. Well, glad you got to drive them, and I hope you can get one. And yeah, it was sad for sure, but it's in great hands now. I'm very thankful with how it all worked out. And I've been kind of surprised. I do miss it. And there's every once in a while, I'll be going through my camera roll on my phone, or I'll be, just something triggers that memory of, the car. But honestly, I'm less bummed about it than I thought I was going to be. After the fact here, I thought I'd really be, haunted by that a little bit more, but I haven't. I think just again the peace of mind that I know it's just being enjoyed, and the fact that I really didn't drive it that much. It's really hard to miss something when you don't really experience that thing very often. And it was also bringing me a little bit of sadness when I'd see it in the garage and I didn't have time to drive it, and it was just like, this car deserves better. And now it's getting that better life, I think, of being a daily driver and being enjoyed. And so yeah, I'm so incredibly grateful with how it all played out. And so yes, selfishly I would have loved to keep it for myself forever, and even if that meant hoarding it away and having it collect dust, but if I had to get rid of it, like, this is definitely, like I said, the best kind of resolution to that. So I'm very, very grateful. So grateful for how that turned out. And the Good Stick says, what happened to the whole BMW i Vision D? Whoever named it needs a raise. Yeah, that is, I think, that was the original thing, was like the precursor for the Vision New class, right? And then that's going to be eventually what we see from next gen BMW stuff. As far as the assistant, I think that's still being worked out, right? But I don't think they're going to call it D anymore. I haven't followed that because I just kind of put it out of my mind, and just it's one of those, silly BMW, and just go about my day. But yeah, I don't know if they're gonna continue to call it iVision D or not, but I guess there's someone that'd be laughing really hard if they do. So we'll see what ends up happening. B. Mitchell says Toyota show neglected the Toyota aspect of adaptive cruise control too, and the basement contingent remain correct. I mean, so yeah, Toyota does have the adaptive cruise as standard for sure. But just, a lot of people aren't buying new cars still. So there's some of that too, that, the average age of a vehicle on the road is 12.6 years now. So there's a lot of old cars that, probably have cruise control, but definitely don't have adaptive still. And Slam says, if you had to choose between ISF or GSF, which one are you going with, Matt? GSF, because it's newer. I like newer cars, newer safety. GSF is also really well done. I mean, ISF is fantastic too, but I don't know. I think just GSF, it's been a long time since I drove them, but from my memory, it was just so tight. And I think ISF left a little bit to be desired. Again, it's been probably 8 years since I even drove an ISF, but from my memory, ISF just wasn't quite as tight. And you could tell it was kind of like a first try effort. It was very, very good. But I think GSF kind of took the learnings of ISF and then built upon it, and then made it even more refined and more comfortable, and, amped up the performance as well. So in all the ways, I think GSF is fantastic, and also GSF is going to be a collectible because I believe they made less of them than ISF, if my memory is correct, and just they didn't sell a ton of them. So GSF I think is a really solid buy, especially if you want to mothball stuff. If you're looking for investor quality vehicles, I think GSF is I mean, maybe at least I'm just maybe being biased here or something, but I really think it would be a solid one to pick up, because I don't think they're going to depreciate very much. I don't think they really have, to be completely honest. They kind of, did their initial usual drop. It seems like they haven't continued. It seems like they've kind of, at least from my last observation of that, several months ago, it seems like they, have kind of remained pretty steady. I think, if I wanted a V8 powered Lexus, though, I'd probably just go even newer and get an IS 500. That way I have CarPlay and things like that, which is also fantastic. You still get that same great engine, not as dynamic from a handling standpoint, but still really, really fun car. I think IS 500 is great. So I'd probably just be happy with one of those, honestly. And Cam Jam says, about the Mazda CX-5 turbo recommendation, do you notice a difference in performance between regular and premium? I can't say because I have never filled one up. They always come delivered with gas, full tank. And I don't know, they don't even tell me what they put in it. Typically, I would assume they follow the recommendations. But if it's a car like a Mazda where it's like either way is fine, I don't know what they do or what they're instructed to do or what. So, I'm not sure if it drives much different. I mean, you lose what, like 5 or 10 pound-feet of torque. You lose like 20 some odd horsepower, but especially in something like that, I think, if it were me, especially if gas is, expensive, just run regular in it and you'll be fine. Mazda says you can do it, without any issue. It just knocks down the power a little bit, but there's no shortage of power there. So I think you'll be fine to run regular in that. And Vishal says, a family member ordered a Model Y last week. Looked at other EVs like Mach-E, Ioniq 5, and EV6, ID4, but the 99% APR did for them. Nice. Well, glad they're happy, hopefully, with that. I guess they didn't take delivery maybe yet, but I saw that Tesla's been doing that recently, and I thought maybe Ioniq's not, because they're pushing the Ioniqs pretty hard. I know the lease deals are super good on those, but maybe the APR is just not quite good enough. But hopefully they enjoy the Model Y, and congrats on any kind of new car is always exciting, And let me see. Wheatman says, Matt, how important are ventilated seats in your car reviews? I'm looking to replace my wife's 2014 Q5 with a 2025 X5, but I'm not sure if ventilated seats are available. Pretty sure you can get ventilated seats in an X5. Maybe if it's not in the trim or something, maybe you're looking at. I would be shocked if you couldn't get ventilated seats in an X5. As far as ventilation goes, I think it's very nice. Most cars don't do it super well as far as like actually getting you cold. I mean, if you're super hot and sweaty, like it'll be a help and it's nice no matter what. But a lot of them aren't super strong. So it's, to me, not like a must-have. And our personal prime example of this is Beth's C-Class. It barely made a difference for the cold seats, which we paid extra for when we spec'd her C-Class out for the 2019. But it just didn't, really do anything. So, I mean, it did something, and especially if you're sweaty, it would help a little bit, but it was not very powerful at all. And, when we ordered the Mach-E, we got the white seat specifically so that when it's sitting out in the sun, which is rare anyway, but when it does, that's going to reflect the heat a little bit better. They were at least still, perforated seats. So that helps. I think perforation, honestly, in my opinion, is more important than ventilation. The ventilation is the cherry on top there, but just perforated seats are so important because when you don't have perforation, your back's just going to sweat. And I mean, I spent so many summers sweating. My back was so sweaty in the BRZ because it had Alcantara, which also makes it worse, and no perforation. And it's uncomfortable. It's just not good. So, I would say just make sure whatever it is perforated. That would be my suggestion. Ventilation, sure, if you can get it, that's fine. If it's not super expensive or super hard to get, but I'd say perforation is really the king for me for a seat right now. Preferably non-Alcantara, but if it has to be Alcantara, at least if it's perforated, usually it's not too bad. And Hugo says, I met someone on my route who bought a new Ram with the inline six. A week later, he returned it and got a used truck. He said after owning it, it's not all a hype. Well, hopefully he didn't have any issues with his, but it sounds like he must have been pretty unhappy because there's a lot of people that do that where they buy a brand new vehicle and then they return it. Maybe hopefully he got his money back and he didn't have to like take a loss on trading it in. But there's so many people that like they'll trade in a car super soon after they bought it. I saw it all the time when I worked at the car dealerships. People trading in a car with 50 miles on it, like, oh, I don't like it. I'm just gonna sell it back to you for a giant loss. It's like, what? That's I don't know how people do that, but it seems like a decent amount of people actually do that. But man, it's a shame. I hope that they get their stuff together at Stellantis with the reliability and the customer satisfaction. And let me see. Good Six says, as you have driven cars from the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and the 20s, how do you think about styling trends through the decades? It's a good question. So I think, you can see how commonality and how, a trend truly is followed in the industry, whether we're talking about streamlined stuff in the 90s and the more bulbous stuff, and then that continued on into the 2000s. But, you can tell, the designs of the times reflect, I think, that the times that people were living in as well. You see angrier vehicles starting to pop up in the 2010s as we get into social media and everyone being angry about everything all the time. It's, having an angry looking car, I think for a lot of people was very much, I guess, reassuring, or just, this car, when a car looks mean and angry and cool and it looks like it's Darth Vader or something, like, I can understand the appeal, but it's just kind of funny how everything is aggressive. Like that's the most overused word that I even use. Oh, look at how aggressive this is. When did you say that about something in the 90s or even the 2000s? Really, very rarely did someone describe a car as aggressive looking. That's like a commonly used thing these days. But I think it really says more about the people living in those times. And it's a very interesting phenomenon. We'll see how that plays out in the future, but and it's also the luxury of sentimentality. I think you see stuff from the 90s typically looks happier and bubbly, and it's like, oh yeah, the 90s were happy and bubbly, but it's like there was plenty of dark things about the 90s as well, and people that didn't have a great time in the 90s, even if some of us maybe did, and so, but I think generally on a whole, it's very lighthearted, with some of that older stuff, because it was, in my opinion, lighter hearted, simpler times in many ways. And let me see. MDK, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. Sorry, I didn't notice that here till now, but thank you so much for your generosity. I'm sure everyone else really appreciates that as well. And 2, thank you for another super chat. He says, I think the scariest part of his job would be testing a first-gen car, not based on any I guess info there. According to him, a certain truck was scary. Yeah, well, I can kind of imagine what truck he's probably talking about, especially, first beta test, Tesla stuff and things like that would be terrifying. Like, man, that's, I would not want to be a beta tester for any of that stuff. Unfortunately, because of full self-driving, we're all signed up to be beta testers with, Elon's attempt at self-driving cars, which I'm not a fan of, clearly. Completely unacceptable to have beta level tech out in the public like that. And I will say my neck is starting to flare up a little bit here, like I mentioned in the beginning. So probably not going to go the full 2 hours here. I'm going to probably cut it off a little earlier. But I'm going to try and, do as many member questions here and probably sign off a little early here tonight. But Hugo, thank you for another super chat. He says, have you ever reviewed a Dodge Viper? If not, I'm sure we'd love to review the latest model. Super awesome car that Dodge made. Vipers are really cool. They are also very sketchy and very tricky to drive quickly, safely. They are notorious for, biting back appropriately enough, being called a Viper. I guess that's, what the character should be. But Viper's always been a car that's been a little intimidating to me, to be totally honest. It's one of those kinds of cars that'd be fun to try. I would try it very carefully. It's not a car I have a desire to honestly review. If I go through my entire life and never drive a Viper, I will be okay with that. It'd be kind of cool because it's again just this raw, crazy, amazing sounding V10 thing. But I've enjoyed Vipers twice. I've been very fortunate to ride on track in a Viper ACR of the most recent generation and a Viper ACR of the prior generation, both being driven by absolute bosses that knew exactly what they were doing, what the car could do, what they could do. And those were both mind blowing. The first time was actually when I was in college, and so I was just doing these videos, casually, kind of part time. And someone saw them and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be at VIR next weekend. If you want to come down and go for a ride in my Viper ACR race car." I'm like, "Sure, sweet, sounds good." And so I did that and got into a race car with a complete stranger. And I don't know if I do that these days, but I did it back then. It was a blast. It was actually the closest I've gotten to throwing up on track, though, because I'm not a great passenger from a motion sickness standpoint. And that was, if I had to do one more lap, I would have probably made a little bit of a mess. Thankfully, I held it together, but that was a close one. And then the second time around, it was too short of a ride. I think I just did 2 laps, but it was the newest Viper ACR, and that was in 2016, the first little regional event I did with Dodge. And that was being driven by the lead SRT engineer for the Viper. I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Eric, and he was super cool, so nice, down to earth. He doesn't work with them anymore, or I believe he's since retired just from engineering in general. But that was why, 'cause it was pouring down rain, super wet, cold morning, like sketchiest circumstances for a Viper. And he was just full send in this Viper. And I must be misremembering. I thought he got it up. I thought it was maybe 170. I could be wrong because that sounds too high. But it was, I think, definitely the fastest I've been on track as a passenger. Probably the fastest I've been on track as a driver, even, because the fastest I've gone on track was 155 in the CT5V Blackwing, ironically enough, around VIR. But we were at Summit Point, which I don't even know if you hit 170 in a Viper ACR at Summit Point, even with him driving like that. But we were going real fast. Maybe it was like more like 135 or something, which still, in pouring down rain on a cold morning in a Viper, is also brave. But regardless, it was definitely triple digit speeds, well into triple digits, and he was flying, and it was amazing. So that is how I prefer to enjoy Vipers, is people who know what they're doing and can extract the most out of them. But yeah, Vipers are very cool for sure. No knock against the Viper. Just, again, I'm very safety minded in a car like that. Even though I know, how to be respectful of a car's power and stuff, it just seems like I've heard some stories about Vipers being a little sketchy. So that's my only reservation there. But let me see. So thanks for joining in, Carlos. I see Carlos says hi, Matt. And Vishal says they haven't taken delivery of the Model Y yet, ETA as of now, sometime this month. Cool. And Raphael says, I talked today about seats. If it's cold out, I'm wearing a coat. If it's hot, all my windows are tinted, so I just don't need heated and cooled seats. Yeah, and honestly, if you have no desire for that, or if you've never experienced the luxuries of those two things, by all means, don't ever go for it, because once you get used to it, then you never want to go back, and then you're stuck buying high trims for the rest of time, or else you just feel like you're in a penalty box. So yes, that's always like a good warning for anyone. And when that same thing goes for heated steering wheel, a lot of people are like, "What do you need a heated steering wheel for? Just put on gloves and you're fine." That I think it's a much nicer experience to have a heated wheel. But if you are content with gloves, stick with gloves. Because again, then you're gonna pay extra for heated steering wheels for the rest of your life, because it's so hard to give up once you have it, because it's so nice. But yeah, I mean, and then I obviously had lived with vehicles before they had heated and cold seats, and yeah, you get used to it, and it's totally fine. I think cloth seats are certainly easier to live with the different temperatures, because they still breathe, and that's very important. I think with people who live out west and their car sits out in a parking lot, baking at 100 degrees all day. If you have leather and you come in and it's, burning your legs, I mean, cold seats aren't going to do that much to help, but at least after your legs have been burned, they then get cooled off excuse me, with cold seats a little quicker than just having, I mean, window tinting helps, but I feel like it can only do so much. I mean, I know even with the bullet, wasn't blacked out with the window tint or anything, but that tint is a ceramic tint that I had on the bullet that does all the heat rejection, does all the radiation rejection, all that kind of stuff. And it's still, you park that bullet out in the sun, it doesn't even have a moonroof or anything, just two side windows that are, fairly thin. And I mean, it got hot in the summer, hopping down in that seat. So I was happy to have the cold seats for sure in the bullet. It was very nice. And and two says that it's not as scary as the basement with driving beta vehicles. I guess so. I haven't experienced the basement, so I can't say. So that's up to you to fill us in on that too. And let me see. So Matthew says, hey, Matt, what's your opinion on using a W205 C63 as a daily family car? I'm fixing to be a dad and want a fun, reliable sedan under 45 grand. I'm so bad with the code names or for the chassis designations there. So W205, I mean, all C63s are really sweet, and I think all of them have enough space to be totally fine daily drivable family vehicles. I would just say that if you're buying a used German vehicle out of warranty, make sure you get an extended warranty, or you are very comfortable with unreliability and with unexpected repairs and expenses and things like that. That's the other thing I will say about those, because it's not so much the engine even, it's just because I think the C63 V8 is more reliable probably than like the E92 M3 V8, but still it's just the electronics is what always goes wonky on those old German vehicles. So I would say with an extended warranty, if you don't mind having to use the warranty potentially and having inconveniences every once in a while, I'd say it'd be fine, but if that's something that detracts from a good family car for you, then I'd try and find something like an ISF or GSF, things like that. They're more reliable potentially to be performance oriented and still be really reliable as well. And I also will say wild card here is go for a Chevy SS sedan if you want something really reliable, because that's the LS motor, but it's in a Chevy package, so it's a little bit more spacious, with the SS and all that, and it's a really fun vehicle, great handler as well. You still get that V8 thing too. And W. Mitchell says, I think the 2000 to 2003 Angry Birds Chevy Silverados opened the floodgates on angry looking vehicles. Yeah, potentially. I mean, Chevy's always had some aggressive looks. I will say, I guess that's one exception. When you talk about stuff even from the 80s and the 90s, I guess 80s is also a time when there was a lot of aggressive stuff. And I feel like 80s were a little turbulent in some ways. I think there's a lot of great things about the 80s as well. But, I think going back to that whole like cars reflecting the feelings of the times. But I think, yeah, Chevy's always had some more angry looking vehicles for sure. And yeah, I remember those definitely had the angry look, and it certainly is great now for every lifted or slammed truck with rubber band tires on them that like to amp up the aggression. I think that's a very well suited car for that demographic as well. But Vishal says, diverting from cars, what Apple Watch are you wearing? Bought a Series 9 last week on sale, upgraded from a Series 3. Nice. That's a great upgrade. I have the Series 4, and it is definitely rough around the edges. It doesn't even I don't know, they did like a software update, and now I can't even clear, the clear button doesn't work for my watch specific notifications. So, and it's a Series 4. It's been around for a while. Thankfully, battery life still is holding up really well, and I've never had any issues really with that. But it's definitely getting dated. So, I mean, we will see what they do with the new one this fall. I'm hoping for something thinner. I've been hearing about that for a long time, that they're potentially being a thinner one. So I'm hoping that maybe we get a lower profile one that would maybe, coax me to upgrade. Yeah, we will see if we can even afford to, drop a few $100 on new watches this year or not. But yeah, I do love this one. It's great. But yeah, if it just dies, I may just try out not having an Apple Watch again and see. But I really like having it because it's great to be able to screen notifications and pull out my phone less, having things pop right up there on the watch instead. And W. Mitchell says, you've done several overtime live streams lately, so punching out early would be okay. I appreciate that. Yeah, my neck, as I'm getting, and I screwed up my hair at some point as well, but as the night's going on here, yeah, it's getting a little more painful, I think. So, they say, I actually saw a physical therapist about it, and they're like, motion is lotion. It's one of the things they said. So like, you got to like keep moving it. And so staring at a screen and a camera and stuff for 2 hours is not a good way to keep my head in motion. And me constantly swaying like an elephant at the zoo or something for 2 hours would probably not be great either. So probably sign off here soon. But let me see. Zachary says, get well soon, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's 30s, man. It's just like 33 was when like dumb little things that shouldn't cause injuries, just end up, it's like I just like turned my neck the wrong way, and all of a sudden, like, now I have neck pain that's gonna probably take weeks to recover from. It's just like, ugh. It's no fun getting older. I'm only, I'll be 34 in July. I'm not that old. I know a lot of people laugh at me saying that, but it just seems like things that I used to be able to weather, I just can't weather as well anymore. And let me see. And Matthew says, yeah, the CC3 came in coupe and sedan. Gotcha. Yeah. So that for that generation, yeah, I mean, both of them are fantastic. And yeah, if you're okay with reliability, go for it. They're great. And I did do reviews on C63s. I did. I did the most recent, or not the brand new one, but the prior gen, I guess now, C63. Great car. If you haven't seen that video, and if you're talking about the older one, I haven't done that one yet, but that's another vehicle I'd love to do at some point down the road. Good Six says, which one is scarier, a Dodge Viper with a bad driver or a bad driver of a Hellcat? So many Hellcats are in scrapyards. Yeah. I think both are equally scary to me. I don't know if I can pick which one is worse. I think a bad driver in general is always something to be scared of for sure. And Cam Jam says, fun fact, the fastest I've ever gone in a car was 109 miles per hour, a rental Chrysler Pacifica out in South Dakota. Man, I think, did you hit the limiter? Because I feel like those are limited around that, if I remember correctly. That takes some bravery. That is, wow. I couldn't imagine doing 109 in a Pacifica. That'd be sketchy, even if you're in the middle of nowhere, I think. That's impressive. And let me see. So Dorian says, hey, Matt, tomorrow I'm going to my fancy PPF detailer guys. They recommended I put an infrared and UV nearest, clearest tint on my front window of the Mini John Cooper Works. Any experience or thoughts? Yeah, I mean, that's what I loved about the Bullet. It was like very mild tint, but it had those infrared and UV rejection, qualities to them. And it's great. You don't want UV for a variety of reasons, for yourself, for your car interior. It's just bad all around. So if you can block that, that's great. Same thing with the infrared stuff. So yeah, I think that's a solid thing. If you're willing to spend the money on it, absolutely is well worth it. And I see Matt R says, that dude in blue says, you're his homie. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always great. And I don't get to bump into David very often, but whenever I do, it's always great catching up and talking. He's always been very grateful to have known him a long time now, and very stand-up guy. And Dorian says the side windows will have mild tints and the back windows and rear darker. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think that's great. If you can do the front there super light, then that way you don't have to worry about cops being on your case if you live in a state that doesn't allow windshield tint, then that's definitely a good thing. I didn't do windshield tint on the Bullet. I don't know if they offered it to me or not, but yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't remember why. Oh, I know why. In PA, we have to have inspection stickers on the windshield, and you kind of ruin tint with stickers. You put stickers on it and stuff, so just wasn't great because it's just going to look crappy. So if you don't have to worry about any kind of inspection sticker on your windshield, then go for it. Or if you can cut out a little spot to put those all the time or something to avoid that, maybe that could help. That's the only thing I'll say, I guess, that it was, I think, the reason why I didn't do it on the Bullet. And Brianna says, heated steering wheel. Who would have ever thought of that? Yeah, it is kind of amazing. It took this long, though, I think, because it's a great idea. And it's really a simple idea, but it's one that really makes such a difference in the winter because it's basically instant heat. It's so nice. So nice having a heated steering wheel. Spy Harpy says many seem to like pops and crackles on the exhaust, but I loathe them. They annoy me to no end. Sounds like the exhaust is broken. I like healthy sounding exhaust, but pops are just a gimmick. Stock on my NSX. Yeah, I think some vehicles, did actually have it authentically, because you can tell it's authentic because it happens like accidentally and it's not just like a consistent thing. But yeah, it's all personal preference. I think some of them can be overdone whenever it's like someone's lighting a 4th of July. Like, it's fun and it's hilarious in a video, and it makes for a great car review. But I wouldn't want to live with like 4th of July every day, in my exhaust. So yeah, I can appreciate both sides of that. I think there's some that are tastefully done that can be nice. I really like, for example, talking about Audis. I think Audi does that very well. Audi, whenever you let off, there's a little, it's a low sounding thing. It doesn't sound like there's gunshots going off or anything. It's enough that you hear it, and it's enough that maybe people nearby can hear it a little bit, but it's subtle, it's classy. I'm, as maybe it's as I age as well, but I think just even growing up with my Legacy GT Spec B as my first, car that I ever bought, I kind of have always leaned towards the Grand Tourer, slightly more mature side of cars in a lot of ways. I mean, again, it's a huge riot and a laugh to have stuff that's crackling and all that, but I kind of like the Audi approach and things like that, where I like having a little bit, but yeah, it's something that's crazy is just yeah, not my favorite either. And also I do sometimes get a little annoyed at them because my daughter doesn't love loud sounds, and so that kind of can actually really scare her if she hears that. It's actually kind of sad, but I asked her a couple weeks ago, do you want to go to a car show this year? And she's like, no. I'm like, how come? And she was like, because there's just a lot of really loud cars. And so hopefully we'll work on that, because I hope she someday enjoys, nice exhaust notes. But I think, a lot of these car shows, people have like really like straight pipe stuff, which again is great for that person. And, again, it's you do what makes you happy. But, it's just, there's some people that don't love, having someone blast by them with something that, is earth shakingly loud. So I can appreciate all sides, I think, of that argument. And Mike's recommending windshield covers to keep the heat out as well. I definitely agree. That is a great thing. And I had the Cars one for the BRZ, the blue like eyelids or whatever, that was always fun to have. I don't know whatever happened to that, because I'm pretty sure I saved it, but I don't know what happened. Maybe I just like sold it on eBay or something. I don't know what happened to it, but those are really cool. And they had those for a while there when Cars was a popular movie. And all right, I'm gonna do a few more here. We're in an hour and a half, and I'm gonna try and sign off here soon so that my neck doesn't get too much worse. I'm not paying for this too much more tomorrow. But MB Can says my Tucson had really good ventilated seats, but I actually don't mind my Kona N not having them. Really don't miss it, to be honest. Interesting. I'm glad you don't miss it. That's good. Hyundai does really well done ventilated seats. They're one of the better ones out there as far as cooled seats goes. I'm always really impressed with how well they've done them in the past. Dylan says, would you say you're excited for Dodge's new EV heavy direction? A lot of the Mopar people I know have pretty much sworn off the EV. I'm hopeful for the Turbo 6. Sorry if you've gone over this before. Maybe in past live streams, but haven't covered it here recently. But I think that they're giving people choices. I think that's the bottom line. Yes, they are going towards the EVs, but I think there's really, especially now, seeing more and more that they got to give people a choice. And they're even talking about, for some of these new products coming out, not for Wagoneer S, I don't think, but for some of these others, having just a mix of both gas and electric, just like with the Dodge and stuff, with the Charger. So I think, you're going to see a choice still, I think, for a long time. And I think that a lot of those guys that are, hating on the EV version, I think they'll come around to the inline six. Inline six motors are pretty universally loved by most enthusiasts. They sound good typically. They are great performers typically. It's inherently a very good engine design, just having an inline six in general, as far as the balancing and all that. So I think that as long as the electronic stuff, as far as the infotainment and stuff, as long as Stellantis again gets their stuff figured out with all that, I think mechanically, the Hurricane motor and the Charger is going to be great. And I think that'll be, again, you'll always have the few people who say, "Oh, V8 or death for me," and they want that exact V8 sound. But I think for other people that are open to the inline six, I think that's really going to be the way forward for most. And I think you're going to see, I don't know if Dodge even predicted what the take rate's going to be for the two powertrains, but I'm willing to bet you're going to see a lot more gas powered ones. And once people get over the shock of a new Charger, they're going to be really excited about that. And then the people who truly do care about drag racing and winning races, the EV, if that is your ultimate goal, is to win a drag race, then the EV is going to be the way to go. It's going to be great. It's going to be unbeatable. And so, we will see. I mean, maybe there's a lot of people who just say, "Oh, well, it's still an EV, so I don't care if I lose every drag race from now on." But I think there's been a lot of people that when they see electric Dodge Chargers blowing the doors off of everything at the drag strip that night, they might think twice about it and be like, "You know what? Like, I miss winning. How can I get back into being a winner?" And that could be the way to do it. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I think a lot of people that are very against the EV thing aren't going to change their opinion very easily. But Dodge thinks that a lot of people are open-minded. I commend their hope for humanity in that way, but we will see. But I mean, I think it's great. Again, they said performance made them do it. I think that's actually accurate. If you want the fastest straight line performance, electric's the way to go. So I think it's the right direction for Charger, and we will see how. I mean, the sales will be the dictator of whether or not it's actually successful. But I think there's no debating that it's going to win every race against a new Mustang, out there. So I think it's good. As far as the other stuff, I think, again, the choice is really going to be nice, and I think they're going to give people choices for a long time. So I don't think we have to worry about everyone being forced into an EV from Dodge anytime soon. All right. So Matthew says he's been cross-shopping the SS with the C63, but it's hard to find one near me for a test drive, but I do feel more comfortable owning an SS. Just wanted to drive one before forking over the money. Absolutely. Yeah, I would not buy it if you have no experience with that platform or anything. Yeah, definitely try and test drive one if you can. I'm trying to think of what even if you can find like a GTO. I mean, it's, again, different because it's two doors and stuff, but it's at least the same Australian kind of basis and the same motor and stuff. So even if you can hunt down like a GTO to test drive, or a Pontiac G8s, is the same thing. So if you can find one of those, just to try and expand your search radius a little bit there with different cars, something like that could help to give you an idea there, to maybe help you make that leap of faith to the SS, even if you can't find exactly an SS. But I just laughed. I just saw Slams and SS Motion is lotion merch ASAP. I mean, yeah, I haven't seen that on the shirt. I guess you can kind of apply that to cars, maybe. I don't know. I'm glad everyone got a kick out of that. And Hyper Shadow says, I'm late to the stream. I see you pumping out videos left and right. I'm guessing some of the YouTube stress is easing off some, maybe. Also, yeah, motion equals good. I have minor arthritis. Sucks, but man. Well, yeah, sorry to hear that you have some pain there too. As far as the stress of YouTube easing off some, definitely not. This past week was, because that was the most actual longer videos I've done like that, maybe ever, or most in a long time. Especially, I wish these car companies talk to each other, but they don't. So it's great. We have Equinox debuting on the same day as Wagoneer S, and some people, I think there was one or two other things too that other people went to that they had to post that same day too. And it's bad for the car companies because they have to share the limelight, and it's bad for us because then especially if you're a one-man crew like me that doesn't just ship stuff off to an editor, having all this work to do. Last week was rough. And I think that might be part of what's playing into my neck injury here and stuff. It's been a lot. Thankfully, I have one more little trip this week that's short, and then I am not traveling for about a month and a half, and I'm very excited about that. The trips are fun. The people are amazing to hang with. It's always usually interesting trying out a new car in a beautiful place and all that. But, all the behind the scenes, headaches and just the stress of travel and leaving the family behind and, all that. It's not great. It's not as glamorous as it seems. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully the stress will get better here after this week. But, I'm also doubled up on press cars, which usually makes things a little busier. Typically, I like having one press car a week. Gives me one thing to focus on that week. It's a little simpler. And also just, recently I've been going to Harrison Auto Sales and filming cars there. And that's been, I think the Impala SS hit from last fall that got 200,000 views. And even the Miata thing, those videos drove home the point that like whenever there's a really good car that I have access to, I got to find time to do it. And like last week, it's like, I'll be posting on Tuesday. I had an M340i finally pop up. I've been waiting years to drive an M340i. They finally got one in at Harrison Auto Sales. I'm like, I have zero time to do this, but I have to clear out my schedule and go film this car because those are the ones that usually do really well whenever it's something that I'm like, I gotta get this done and I know that it's going to be popular. And so like I bumped my editing back, and that meant that most of the days last week I was working until 11 o'clock or midnight editing to keep up with all these videos I had to post and stuff. It's a lot. I'm really, I think, close to a breaking point. That's why I got to back off. My neck's telling me I got to back off. Like everything's telling me I got to slow down. I got to chill. So thankfully, last week was an outlier. It was out of the ordinary kind of thing, but it taught myself a lesson. I got to if I got to miss embargoes, I got to miss embargoes because I can't be running myself absolutely ragged. And I've been doing that to be totally honest. It's fun and I'm not complaining. It's an amazing job, but I'm just, really overloading myself here, and I gotta, kind of slow down a little bit, I think, in the future. Luke, thank you for the super chat. He says, Matt, move to a farmhouse so I can spook you. I guess you're a ghost, Luke. So hope the other dimensions are treating you well. Thanks for stopping by and for the super chat there. And Hyper Shadow says, long live Harrison Auto Sales. But yeah, so we're almost at 2 hours or so. I ended up going long anyway, but yeah, I don't want to leave member questions unanswered, but I see Slam says, I'm 33 also in January. I messed up my knee at work. Guess who slipped in the shower on Wednesday? Me. I'm finally able to go back to work tomorrow. Man, well, hope you feel better soon. And yeah, I was very fortunate to not have to worry about health stuff until this past year. And I've had a couple little things here that have slowed me down and have been little hurdles that haven't been fun. And same with Beth, it just things start to pop up, and that's life though, right? It's part of being human, I guess. We can't all be fortunate enough to be Olympians that are undeterred by anything until we're 100 years old. It's just bodies are flawed inventions in many ways. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to head off here though, because yeah, my neck is definitely not happy with me at this point. So apologies again. Like I always say, anyone who has a question they want answered, by all means, feel free to send me a message. I will get to answering that, at some point here this week if your question didn't get answered here tonight. But anyway, thank you all so much for joining in. I hope you have a great week here, and hope everyone feels better and has a good week here, getting into some summer months. Hope you're enjoying the warm season and the drives and all that. I've been seeing a lot more sporty cars out recently, especially this weekend here with the great weather. And so I hope you're all enjoying being an automotive enthusiast here as we're finally in some nice weather here. But anyway, thank you all very much once again for tuning in, for watching, and see you guys on the next one. Take care.